I would like to get the next speaker up here, which is Jacob, the CEO of Dacia. Very welcome up on stage. This is actually it's actually quite fascinating because we're speaking about big data and that data is so important. But you guys were the first big data company I met, and it was, I think, 18 years ago or 15 years ago. And I heard this vision, and I was like, that's never going to work. And now you're here, and you've been doing what people have been talking about here as something that's going to happen in the future for quite some time.
Yeah.
So tell us about what is Dacia, and the ones that aren't working with you know Dacia.
Yes, I don't know if who doesn't know what Dacia is. Hands up. So a few people, most know. But actually, it's a good way to describe what a customer did in UK. He said, "So you guys, you really like Dacia, like Google Maps on steroids." And we were like, "What do you mean?" Well, you can go into the map, you can click on any property or anything, and you find all information. What is it? What sort of property, ownership, what fund, and so on and so forth. So a lot of details about all properties in the markets we sell.
So I was quite surprised that, and are these guys your customers, or did you just know what you're doing?
I think quite a lot of the guys in here are customers, yeah, if there are property companies, yes.
And you've been quoted to say that data is indeed the new oil. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I don't know if that was my quote from the beginning, but I think it's a good way because you could look at it from a few different perspectives. I mean, first of all, data in itself, that's just like raw material, right? And really to make use of data, you need to find a way to match it, and so that's you refining the oil from so to say. And then once that has become an asset, the oil itself, you need to load it into a machinery, so like the software. This is where building smart functions in the software, so you can actually utilize the oil. The oils become the fuel, and you have a product, and all of a sudden you can start looking up the properties and ownership and funds and rents and transactions and all of that things. So from that perspective, oil is the first ingredient which you refine and make more valuable with a lot of functions.
But you also, and also as I understand it, you can have your own proprietary data, that's your secret. You have that on the platform, you have your data, you have the data from whatever goes on in the industry, and that gives you better decision material.
Yeah, so the last thing you just mentioned is sort of a new trend that we see coming very strongly, and that is the question. So if a customer, because actually if you look at the real estate market, it's really behind when it comes to technology. And you'd be surprised that 2/3 of all the data from for property companies are basically in Excel sheets. So the new thing that we have seen a large demand for is, can a customer take their own data and put that as a layer on top of the structured data of this oil that I talked about? Why would you want to do that? Well, all of a sudden your seemingly unstructured data becomes searchable, so you can start searching, what have I done for this type of properties in this type of area, so on. It can be visualized, so you can start with different colors and different maps. You can start to aggregate the data. You can draw a circle in a map and say, show me what is the average yield in this area and so on. And of course, rules around who should see it and so on. So yeah, that's a new thing for us. But it seems to be very hot in the market, so quite a number of customers.
And when you see in the market, geographically that has expanded quite a lot, and you're moving out of sort of your home market. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, so like you said, Dacia started about 18 years ago, and I wasn't around then. Magnus is in here, he was still in Dacia, so he's one of the early guys. And it went really well in Sweden, and our owners, of course, want us to grow, and they said, could we repeat this elsewhere, or is this a Swedish phenomenon, that the data is structured and all of that? So the company decided to go to Finland and say, Finland is nearby, Newsec was in Finland, so we could utilize that platform. And it worked. We're there in black numbers now, quite a lot of customers. And then, of course, the owners say, okay, what other countries could we do? So we started to scan the market. We looked at a lot of countries in Europe. We even had McKinsey involved to look at some countries and so on. And the conclusion was that there's a lot of countries in Europe which we can do the same thing. But we went into UK. It was a really good timing because the data was becoming available. So we worked there with the governments of UK, the authorities, for about 2 years. And then eventually we got the data we needed, and then we launched the service about 1.5 years ago. And it's going well. We have 150 customers, something like that today, and almost new customers coming every day. So it's really taking off. And this layering of your own data is a big thing there as well.
Yeah, but and what is the difference between a company that doesn't work with data? I have my Excel sheet, my industry is traditional, it's fine, we're making money, don't bother me, or somebody that can leverage data? Could you sort of make that very concrete?
Yeah. I mean, when you look at how you use the data, of course, one thing is, you need to answer some questions. What is the size of this? What is, you need to fill in some sort of PM or whatever. I mean, that's one maybe when you're using data. But if you're really capitalizing on data and the insights that you have, it's a totally different story. I mean, saving time is a small part.
So the efficiency part, I get that. But what is the sort of increased opportunity?
But because if you have access to the right data, of course you can make better decisions. So you can find off-market opportunities. Maybe you're able to get a better deal with a bank. Maybe you're better to find potential properties. Maybe you can find what is the right rent level and so on. So by utilizing the data, it gives an opportunity to be much more proactive and share the data internally. I mean, I think if I were to ask all the property owners in here if they would consider themselves to be a knowledge company, everyone would raise their hand. And then you ask, okay, so is this a critical success factor for you? Everyone would raise their hand. And then you would ask, so how do you make sure that you have this? Then no one could really answer that question.
And if you look at some of the things that you think are most exciting right now going forward, is it new markets, new technologies, what are the things?
So I mean, right now, we're just about to launch a new module in UK, which is pretty interesting. So that's a transaction module. What we have done here in Sweden, we're collecting all the different transactions with manual research or company transactions. We have that in Sweden, and that has been really taking off here in Sweden. So we're just about to launch that in UK as well. And then this other thing that we're talking about, layering companies' own data. I mean, that is the future, we think. So
you have a digital DNA in a technology company. A lot of the people here, they are not a technology company. They're a real estate company, but they need to excel in technology. What advice could you give at running a technology team or running development at the sort of, I mean, you're doing it at scale, but what are some of the things you've learned during the journey?
Well, things never come out as you have planned anyways, right? Even when we look at things, we do Excel sheets and things and plan and we do this and that, but it never works out. So I think it's just about getting started, finding something small. So if you're a property company, finding some sort of digital opportunity or efficiency, something small, get started with that, and then it will take you somewhere which you didn't expect anyways. So I think my advice is to just get started with something.
Are you co-developing together with clients or partners or things like that?
Yes, we have. We're doing a lot of things. So, like this thing of layering your own data, we have maybe 35 or so companies beta companies in Sweden right now that are running this. Some big names, even JLL, have gone out and said that they're doing that. So we're getting a lot of good advice from them.
So if somebody has ideas on what to do and they don't want to develop it themselves, potentially you could do that together as well.
Yeah, I think some of the things that we are doing is very difficult for the customers to do themselves because you need the underlying data, and no one could afford to do that, or no one would prioritize to do that at least. So yeah, that's the important part.
Last thing, what is most exciting for you personally right now?
I think it's what I said, launching this new module in UK is going to be really cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.